Do you want to turn this into this?
Hi there, my name's Josh and I make music as JWEEX, and this is my first appearance on Sample That. Now today we're going to be making a bass sound. I use it in my own track, and we're going to be looking at the fox bass. Why fox bass? Because this is made out of a fox making weird sounds. This is the original video.
Hi, Finnegan.
Very cute, weird sounds. These are the snippets I used. I was trying to get a very vocal sound, and these are all very hasty. It doesn't have a consistent tone to them. So I found this part. I thought, okay, I can use that. So what I did was I cut it up to make a little pattern. This is the complete bass sound I made from the fox. Yes, very nice. Now it is consisting of a lot of layers, a lot of processing going on. So as I was playing around with it, first I was thinking what to do with it. First I had to get the tone right, so I put an auto-tune on the fox itself, so that he would sing in key, so to say. Without any processing, it sounds like this. Sounds really goofy. So I wanted it to sing in key, so I put an auto-tune on it. So it's a little electronic, but that's okay because it's going to be heavily processed. I was making sure that it was going to be a mono, so I turn it on, just put it on mono. There's not much going on else. Then a frequency shifter that is hitting a sweet spot in the resonance, especially on this last one. Then right after the frequency shifting, I added 2 overdrives, hitting 2 different peaks. One is a little lower and one's a little higher. Then it's getting processed by a good pal, the vocoder. Just cleans it up a bit because it became a little bit muddy, and you can hear the woman breathing on the background. That was just filtered out by this vocoder. I added a little bit of high end with erosion, and it's just creating a little bit more high end. Then we arrive at delay. That's actually just making a very stereo sounding. It's a very short time as well. Regarding to your own key of your own track, you want to set it to a certain amount of milliseconds. So just set a time, find a nice sweet spot. Then we add an OTT. The first OTT, I think there's one other one. Yeah, right there. Just cleans it up a bit. Then it gets at a gate. I placed this one after all the processing to make sure that, as you can see, these transients are lower than these. So these might not come through. As you can see, all the little peaks are just as high, and this stuff can just go away. Now that is for the main bass. I added a sub as well. It is a very basic sub. This is just a very basic sub noise. It's a little bit of harmonics going on. It's not much. Just add a little bit of information. Added a white noise, and being it distorted, making a very cool effect. It's hard to hear because it's very low. I added a vortex. It's just a basic compressor and a bass booster. A weird EQ that's just... and just a limiter at the end. So these are those 2 groups. You can see a third group right here. This third layer right here is just the second layer of the main sound being processed as a sample, and I moved it up 1 octave, and I added a frequency shifter to it, and that's just basically going up. It sounds very dissonant and out of place, but in context with the other one, it just adds a little bit of more high information. Because it's so non-traditionally harmonic, it sounds a little bit more evil. That's what I like. That's why I added it. Now, I grouped all these 3 tracks together to be able to process them at the same time. First EQ is just basically removing all the annoying frequencies. The kick is just sitting right here, so I duck that down to make room for it. And these are all the annoying 5 to 10k, 5 to 7k hertz. Now this auto pan is going a little crazy. Turn it off, and basically that just get fixed right away with the auto pan. It goes to a reverb. This reverb is actually only for thickening the sub a little bit. As you can see, the decay time is fairly short. It's not a lot going on. Then I made sure that everything was mono because I was going to be taking care of stereo later on anyway. Then, as we're talking about stereo, I put in the serum effects. Now this guy is a low pass filter being cut off at the same tempo as the auto pan is, creating a very clean pattern. I activated the hyperdimension as well and set it to the same LFO. You can just drag it onto it. And it's going absolutely crazy. I set the rate, I didn't change it. Detune all the way up, unison all the way up. And it just creates a lot of stereo width. Then it's being distorted by Camel Crusher. There's not a whole lot of interesting going on here. Then I got a good friend of mine, the vocoder. Set the range to maximum so that it also picks up all the sub and all the high ends, so that it doesn't sound canny. Then I used a Filter Pro R for those long tails. It's actually automated to make a cool pattern. Then top it all off with another OTT so that everything becomes equally loud. And you can hear with the vocoder and OTT together, they sound really nice if I turn both of those off. The kilohertz transient shaper. Set the speed to 500%. Make sure the pump was down so that it creates a little duck right after the hit. It's a very subtle effect, but it changes a lot how this sound acts further on in the rack. Then another compressor, and then another auto pan. This auto pan is just basically an effect I made for the very long tail, because the reverb we've seen earlier in Pro R is going on for more than 6 seconds. So later on in the track, as it fades out, the auto pan comes in. I think it's a cool effect. Then another EQ. Now we've been doing a lot of processing already, and it bound to happen that still some unwanted little peaks show up. That's what this guy is for. Just ducks down 2 little spots that were slightly inconvenient. It's not a big difference, but it makes it a big difference, if that makes sense. Then I put it to Diablo Lite. I used the Lite version on purpose, because this is just a simpler version. It's a little bit more CPU friendly, and it has everything I need for this particular sound. Now this guy kind of blows all of it up. I try to be not careful with it. So clipping is set to 70%, input is boosted by 10. These plugins are the reason that I want to group these things together, because without the sub, there's no low-end information. So without the sub and the Diablo Lite on, it sounds like this. The reason I put Diablo Lite in the group rack is because now it is processing the main sound as well as the sub at the same time. So it creates a really cool crunchy effect. And to top it all off, put a limiter at the end. The limiter is just here as a safety net for any peaks that go above the 0 decibel limit. So yeah, that's basically the breakdown of this particular sound. And I used the Fox sample on one other part of my track as well. So I made a riser out of the quickly rapid breathing they've been doing. I thought, okay, that's some cool information. So I made this riser. There's not a lot going on here. This is just sampler. I want it to be mono, so I said utility on mono. Make sure the transients were cool, so I said that. This transient is making all these peaks, we'll just curving them a little bit, making them a little bit more friendly. A frequency shifter because it acts as a riser. A lot of reverb. I always drown my risers I make my own with a lot of reverb. Being OTT'd. Make sure that all the low end information is gone. An auto pan that speeds up. An auto pan that speeds up in such a way that it creates a very cool effect. And a limiter to make sure that peaks are as high as I want them to be. And altogether it sounds like this. Without any processing, the riser sounds very ugly. In context, the main bass I made with the Fox sounds like this. Yeah, that's all there is. Oh, by the way, this is just my channel rack. This channel rack right here is just my main effects rack I put on every channel, and it's just basic compression for sidechaining and stuff. I won't be including this channel rack in the breakdown because it's not part of the sound designing. That's all there is to say. Yeah, I'll see you at the next sample.
Reality.